Alrighty, so here's what we are gonna be doing. Everybody had the question after I went testing and after things hiked up and I made comments about it. I need to turn the bull's horns straight up like that instead of back. And in order to do that, I have to do some modifications, including making new bull's horn tips. So what we've done here is to prove this out so you guys can see scales. There is a scale. The Pro Jack's loose. There's nothing going on there. Scale. This is what it is with me out of the car. I don't have scales on the back. No point. I'm going to jump in the car, and I can't obviously simulate the thing being 4,000 horsepower, full boat boogie, 9,000 RPM and 9,000 RPM and 50 pounds of boost or whatever, making 4,000 horsepower. Can't do that right here, but I can at least simulate putting it on the two-step and seeing what kind of pressure, down pressure, those bull's horns give it. So I'm gonna jump in the car, Clark's, and I'm gonna put the camera right on the scale so you can see it exactly what's going on. Gonna be really interesting to see. All right, I'm gonna go jump in the scale. Well, I'm gonna jump in the car. Don't make fun of me for how much I weigh. All right, so we're learning that we don't know what's going on. So it looks like it gets lighter. You can see that when I sit in the car, it is 783, 784. Very correctly balanced. So now we decided, okay, let's put the scales in the back of the car. So the whole thing's scaled. And we'll see if it is like, because it's sitting still, maybe it's on because it's on the trans brake, it's putting power somewhere different. And it does have, now the only other thing that we do have here, hey, why is your scale flashing? Your scale's flashing. The only other thing that we do have here is the wastegates are pointed down. So it is on the wastegate, it is misfiring, but we really didn't expect to see it actually lighten. So we're going to put it on two-step one more time and try this out with all four tires on the scale to see if we see anything. All right, so we put the car back up in the air. We just took the car off the scales, and I'm thinking about it. We're determining that we do not know what the crap's going on. It is, I'm telling you, it is impossible to have exhaust flow coming out of here, going down track, and not have some kind of pressure pushing up, which would push the car down. Impossible. It has to. How to figure that out and what is going on here exactly, I'm not sure. Now, I will show you the only thing that I can think of. It didn't make any difference going to the back. You noticed all the numbers there. Don't get hung up on numbers. Notice there's no freaking front end in the car. I have only about a gallon left of fuel in there, so we're about 40 pounds shy there, about 100 pounds. And plus, I think the rear cell's empty. But so we're this car always weighs 3,600 pounds. Wish it weighed 3,400 pounds. Always weighs 3625, 3685, something like that. And when it's fully dressed, when everything's in it and on, Oh, the one thing I was going to show you was the wastegate, and I am going to change the wastegate because now actually thinking about it, if the wastegate is making any kind of difference, because I had aluminum tubes on these wastegates. The wastegates basically point down. I had aluminum tubes on the wastegate. Oops, sorry. Had aluminum tubes on the wastegate. These are aluminum tubes here, no problem. The aluminum tubes on the wastegate blew out and bent from the force, blew the tube out and bent the tube because I had it on an angle going straight back. I'm gonna make stainless tubes for it that go straight back because I don't know, maybe the whole thing is I don't know, maybe it's net zero because this is pushing down and this is pushing up. I don't know. One of those things that I've just been testing and makes me go, it did not do what I thought it was going to do. But it has to.
All right, just pulled up to 660 Raceworks. Chris Kozlik's inside. We're going to get the scales. We got to get scales for project Steve's doing. Chris, how we doing?
Yo, what's up?
Here to pick up some scales.
Yes, I got them for you.
Perfect.
We are ready.
It looks like some stuff's been done to Splinter.
Yeah, we're about ready to send it out the door. I got one more door bar X to finish, and then I got a jack.
Alrighty, so Nate just went down and borrowed 660 Raceworks scales. They're digital scales that are not as old as I am. Or older, actually. Like what Clark scales are. So maybe Clark scales are all screwed up. So we already showed you the new wastegate tubes, showed you the new bull's horns, which I'm gonna have to send over to SOB to get what do they call that?
Cerakoted.
Cerakoted. Yeah, Cerakoted to match up now. So we got all that done. So we're gonna go back into testing this, but I thought I'd show you what Clark's been working on. So we got the trailer hooked up, and we're working on the wood grain for the trailer, so it's a matching combo. So, because obviously you can't look stupid. I mean, you gotta look really cool when you're out driving your 4,500 horsepower station wagon, wood grain station wagon. It's got to look cool. So Clark's gonna do a
Pinstripe.
yeah, the pinstriping stuff there. So we're gonna try to simulate it as close as possible. Not gonna go to that extent because Clark can't do that. And that is astronomically expensive to do. So, but that's pretty close. That's like a wrap. That's the same stuff that I wrapped the same wood grain that I wrapped the Bristol 1000 car that I crashed severely. We wrapped that in wood. But I think it's looking pretty good. So that's pretty cool. So we'll get this thing off. We wanted to make sure it like matched and was at the right angle, and you know everything was all cool. So. I got a little bit of time here during lunch, so we're going to go ahead and put this thing back up in here, put it on the scales, and test the different methods. And I'm also going to test with outputting it on the two-step. So I'm actually just going to turn my two-step off and let it come up against the converter, which is really hard on converters, but it'll take it. And not going to be on it for a long time. We're going to be able to see what's going on with the numbers and see if we can get this thing to show us numbers of what it actually is doing. that was not coming up on the two-step because I turned the two-step basically off, just raised it way up. That was directly coming on the converter only, and then built-in boost. So I'll see what kind of boost it made here. All right, so you can see from the numbers here, got the numbers up there, it made 0 difference. That was 5,200 RPM, 8 pounds of boost is where it just came up to, on not on limiter, not on anything. That's just coming up against the converter. So it's cold, transmission fluid's cold, and all the other stuff. Not worried about it, don't care. Also keep in mind the front end is totally off the car, so that's why it's a little bit light right now. This car always weighs 36.25, 36.35, right around there. Okay, so what we're doing is we're gonna back up, because when we saw on Clark scales, and we'll probably simulate that here on Clark scales, it actually showed that it was getting lighter, and that's what I couldn't figure out. Here it's showing it doesn't change at all, which is like not really believable. There's no way you can have that kind of that airflow coming through there, even making just a few pounds. I mean, they have a rule in Top Fuel about the angles of the Zoomy headers and how far they can be pointed back, how far they have to be pointed up, how far they can be pointed out, because it affects the car and the speed so dramatically. Okay, so sorry, backpedaling. So what we just did is we just took the wastegate tubes off. I think let's point the headers back, or the Zoomies back up. So we're gonna have the Zoomies up, the wastegate tubes off, so exactly the way we tested it on Clark scales, because now you can see that the weight is different than what it was on Clark scales too. So we're going to pretty much simulate what we did on Clark scales, and I'll let it come up on the two-step, and we'll see if it goes light again, which at that point I would think that it would be the wastegates are blowing air down and making it go up a little bit. We'll see. Okay, look at the numbers there. You can see basically unchanged, basically. Definitely not what I was expecting. So, but I know this has an effect. I can't figure out why it's not showing it here on the scales and what is going on. So, I have no clue. I am totally dumbfounded. I'm going to continue thinking about this. As a matter of fact, just thinking about this, dyno videos, here's a little clip. Dyno video of an open tube. It tears it in the engine dyno. It tears my screws out of the headers and tears stuff apart. Blows collectors off. Does all sorts of stuff because of that exhaust pressure, air trying to get out. It's got to be something. But again, as a matter of fact, thinking about this, so we took the wastegate tube off. Here's exactly the way it was. Clark just undid it, left it on the floor. The wastegate had enough pressure to blow this tube out. While I was on the two-step. How does that not make enough pressure to lift the car up a little bit? So here's my challenge to you guys. Let's go backwards. Forget about the two-step and all that other stuff. Let's just go at how much exhaust flow I'm not going to give you any more numbers than what this is, so don't write on here comments asking me for 15 minutes or a half-hour conversation of me typing out, data for this, okay? So you got to take the data and you can extrapolate out, or you can make some assumptions on other stuff, okay? 540 cubic inches, 5,200 RPM, 8 pounds of boost in the cylinder. What that airflow is, you'd have to calculate it out. It is probably at 8 pounds of boost and 5,200 RPM. It is probably making 1,200 horsepower right there. Yeah, it's probably making pretty close to 1,200 horsepower right there. I've never dynoed one at that lower level, so I really don't know exactly off the top of my head, but probably about 1,200 horsepower. Let's just figure it out there. Through a 5-inch exhaust pipe. What would the thrust power, maybe that's not the right terminology, the thrust slash air movement, it's got to have air movement, it's got to translate into some kind of thrust. How much thrust, air movement would be coming out of that pipe? Your challenge, see who gets that right. And I'll read the comments. Anyways, I'm Steve Morris. No freaking clue. Have a great day.